Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to do a Stacia miniature. Okay, so what I do in these videos is I take a look at a fast time control game, in this case, a 3-2 blitz game, and we go through and try to learn something at the critical moments. Okay, let's have a look at this game. I'll start off by saying that I played an opponent rated 1622 in blitz, and I was rated 1503. And the game opened with e4, e5, and f4. This is a king's gambit, so buckle your seatbelt. It's going to be a wild one. Knight f3, so just with the idea of looking at the square, stopping the queen check. My opponent played g5. This is the most ambitious and probably the best move objectively. And I played h4, challenging that pawn. So the best move here is, and the one I'm most accustomed to, is g4. After g4, I pretty much have to move my knight in the center, and then it gets crazy. Like they could play d6, I take, knight f6, okay, and it's going to be a wild game. And I'm going to try to win back my f pawn. But that did not happen. Instead, bishop e7. Interesting move. And let's see if this is even a book move. I really doubt it. No, it is not. It's been played by one master in the database, and that game was a draw. But I really doubt this is a move. So when I see bishop e7, I definitely start thinking about the Cunningham defense. Because if we go back a second, instead of g5 in this moment, bishop e7 is possible here. And then I go into something called the wild Cunningham. Not recommended. I mean, it is recommended at the club level, but definitely not at strong levels. Like here, they usually go check. This actually isn't the main move. It's knight f6, but most often you will see this check, and the idea is that you really can't play g3 because it's covered by the pawn. But actually, you can play g3, and you get this position. And now you know why it's called the Wild Cunningham. So white has sacrificed, let's see, 3 pawns, our F, G, and H pawns, and any semblance of king safety for initiative and development. So we already have these pieces developed. We have a pawn in the center. These are really, really interesting games. So just wanted to throw in that little tidbit there. And now let's go back. So bishop e7, though, after g5, I think it's a different story. This is different, you know? So they're not going for a check, clearly. But what they might be going for is to take this pawn. And I actually think that, you know, maybe g4 is a bigger threat now because when I move my knight, then they take the pawn with check. So that looks annoying. And I don't think g3 works out in that case. I really doubt it because the bishop will take with check. It looks like a total mess. So let's say I make a nothing move just to see if this is a threat. Yeah, g4. And yeah, the computer is already saying d4 is the best move. Wait, d4. So sacrificing a piece. So that means if we go knight e5, yeah, this is horrendous. I pretty much have to go king e2, and all my pieces are blocked, and basically white is lost. Okay, so back to the game. I chose to take the pawn. So I saw g4 as a threat, and I took. Of course, I played it in 1 second. And I thought this is interesting. He can take my knight, and now I can take with a pawn. The queen does come out, but I feel like black has a really interesting pawn structure, aka not a good pawn structure. And Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on here. It just looks like a crazy game of chess, which is kind of what I've been looking for these days. All right, so I have to prevent this check. That I know. So I played queen f3. He went knight c6. Yeah, pretty smart. Just threatening these checks. And I brought my bishop out. And he played this. Yeah, and you know what? I probably shouldn't have allowed this. So what should I have done here instead? Maybe c3? No, c3. c3 doesn't stop this one. All right, well, I could go queen f2. You hate to do it, but maybe queen f2 is good. Well, I developed a piece. I allowed this. Notice that this is 4. Yeah, he's hitting my queen, but he's also hitting my square. So I defended it. And now he played this move. This is probably a mistake. Part of me wonders if that was a mouse slip because this looks very strong, doesn't it? In fact, I think it's winning. And the computer agrees it is winning. So, okay. After this move, I guess his idea, you know what? His idea probably was that he wants to take on c2. But the problem is, let me get rid of that for you. Okay. The problem is I take, and I can defend c2. So this is what happened. Game still looks insane. He developed a knight. I played d3, just defending the e pawn. And he went d6. And castles was played. Yeah. So it's a risky move, okay? I don't know if I should have castled, but it's also a very interesting move. So it's risky because this pawn has my king trapped on the back row, and that could be a real issue. Especially if a rook finds its way down in the endgame. But I liked the immediate pressure I had. So I'm attacking the knight, and it's basically a skewer through to the f-pawn. So he moved his knight, which I think he should, looking to post a knight on f2 or h2. How often do you see that in the middle game? So I took here, and I liked this for me because now he's kind of like I don't have a way to immediately take advantage of the king position, but what I do like about it is that generally when your opponent can't move their bishop and therefore their rook, that's usually good for you. So that was my idea there. Now he is on this again. Oh, I allowed him to take. Yeah. I'm sure I did that on purpose, but didn't calculate it. Let's see what the computer wants. Wow, it actually says knight c3 is the best move. So my polymorphy intuition is right on. All right, so this is a move that polymorphy would play, develop your pieces, make threats. I mean, my knights come into d5, and it just felt like there's stuff going on here. Okay, so I let him take. Yeah, and I reasoned that if he wants my rook, he can have it because that knight will be completely out of play, and I thought I would get a lot of attack, especially with my rook coming down. Could be totally wrong, but okay, so I attacked his knight, and he posted his knight on the f2 square. So here, tempting is to take it, You get a pawn for it as well, a strong, annoying pawn. But then I think after all that, he just takes my rook, and I really don't have anything there. Yeah, that looks losing. Yeah, knight takes a1, black wins. So I didn't play that. I played knight d4. Or wait, did I? No, that's what black played. Oh, I played rook c1. My bad. Rook c1. So I'm forcing him to move his knight. His knight moved. And now I was worried about this fork. It's a nice fork, isn't it? But my knight is defending, so that was nice. And now I have my own fork. So a double attack on the knight and the rook. And, can he do anything? He has a check, but that just loses the knight, at least at this point. Yeah, hard to advise him here. I think this is probably the best move which wasn't played in the game. At least it attacks my bishop, but I feel like, yeah, that doesn't work. I take, and this is defended. So he probably saw that. So, okay. He played knight e6. So knight e6 attacks the rook, but it does allow me to take. So this must be just a losing move. After takes, now I can take the rook still. So, okay, I guess bishop f6 won the day. And I'll show the rest of the game, but then let's go back and see what the most important parts of the game were. Yeah, here I actually saw that he could fork me, but forks don't work when your opponent has tempo moves, especially checks like this one, because now I moved one of my rooks out of the fork, and I'm going to have time to get the other move out of the rook. No, I'm just kidding. Other move. I said it again. Get the other rook out of it. Okay, and then this is even worse, I think, because, well, I'm just up a lot of material here, aren't I? I could sack the exchange if I want. I can just play this, check. Yeah, and he took. I mean, yeah, and this too. I actually think this is more interesting. Well, I thought this is more interesting, but yeah, there is a backwards bishop move, isn't there? So, yeah, I don't know what he does. Maybe this move. I actually think that might be best. Computer gives rook g8. But okay, he played this, and it's simple enough to trade down. And my technique was not best, but it was sufficient. Not the best place for my rook, but when you're up this much material. All right, so you guys are probably bored, but yeah, and I always love these moments where you can just threaten the rook roller mate, so like this is checkmate, so he put his king up. So I went, okay, I'm going to checkmate you here, and he brought his rook back, and I said, okay, I'm going to skewer you. So that would win the rook. But let's go back and see what the critical moments of the game were. So I was lucky to win this game. I, in fact, should have lost it right at this moment. So let's have a look at it. In this moment, I played bishop c4. Yeah, and this game is now lost. Knight e5 is very good. And so is knight d4. And the computer is also giving d5. Okay, so let's look at this critical moment. All right, knight d4 was played in the game. This attacked too many things as it was. And the only reason I didn't lose on the spot is because after this move, is this what I played? Let's see. I went here. He played queen g3 check, allowing queen takes, pawn takes, and bishop b3 defending on c2. But really, he should have took here. And now it's not clear what I do. If I move my queen here, he can trade off and take on c2 a check. And if I go rook f1, well, this looks scary now. Queen g3 check. That looks good. And I don't know what to do here. If I take now this pawn is incredibly strong, isn't it? And like if I try to defend c2 like in the game, I'm wondering about this move. This looks rough. All right, I have to go rook g1. If I go anywhere else, he queens. But the problem is this is a fork, isn't it? So king f2 here. Okay. I don't think I have any compensation for the material. I would just call this losing. So yeah, this moment here, queen g3 check. I'm lucky my opponent messed that up. So clearly I needed to do something else to stop that move. And this is also a threat. So let's see what happens if he plays that move instead. If here, that forks my queen and bishop. Also annoying. Yeah, and I'm understanding this now. So my queen is basically overworked in this case because my queen wants to defend the g3 square and the bishop. Well, it looks like I could do that. I could even make a threat, like queen b3, and it's like, oh, I'm going to maybe check you. But he says, that's okay. I'm just going to take your bishop. And then I go, wait a minute, because I'm overworked. So I take here, and now check must be brutal. I'm verifying with the computer, and yeah. King f1. I don't like this position at all. It says f3 is just a crushing move here. I don't understand why immediately, except for this. Wow. Threatening f takes g2 check, winning my rook, and possibly queening. At least winning my rook. Or do I get checkmated? I'm not sure. I probably have to defend that somehow. I guess rook g1. What else? Now I can't... I guess that did stop it. I could play this move. But the computer's giving d5 now. Computer gives d5. So I think the idea is something with this bishop. Most likely this move. But it looks crushing. Okay, so let's get back to our critical moment. So here, clearly, I cannot play bishop c4 here because these responses of knight d4 and knight e5 are just too crushing. Both moves are tempo on my queen, so you've probably heard this in chess, but this is a great reminder for me too, even in a blitz game, is that you need to be aware of your checks, your captures, and your tempo moves. And these are tempo moves, are they not? So I find that one of the best ways for me to keep tabs on these moves is when my opponent moves, I ask myself, what is that piece doing? Or another way to do it is just ask, what is your opponent's idea? And I think if I had asked that question here, I definitely would have saw the potential threats here, and I don't think I would play bishop c4. Now, would I find queen f2? I think in a slower time control I would. I don't know what I would do here. I really don't. I might just play d3. Ugh, I hate blocking in that bishop though. So, all right, queen f2 is a move that you play in the King's Gambit, so maybe I would find this. The idea is that if he wants to try and attack my c2 square, now I play d3 and it's defended by the queen. So I do understand that. Not to mention I could just take it, right? Except I can't. I'm still overworked. Can't allow queen g3 check. Cannot allow it. And I think the computer likes queen f2 as well because, yes, we want our bishop here, but no, we don't. Because the bishop is actually playing a defensive role here on the king side. So there you go. And we'll find one more critical moment. Yeah, I think maybe a major turning point of the game was right here. Knight c3 was a good find by me. I say that lightly because I think I just played it without calculating. Um, but I think it's very instructive to know that moves like this work. Even long term, well, let me put it this way. Sometimes moves that build initiative are worth giving up material. And I think in a slow time control game, I really doubt I would find this move, to be honest. I would see knight takes and I'd be like, huh, do I have enough initiative? And unless I found something really concrete up here, I would not play this move. However, in blitz, you can get away with stuff like this. So I allowed him to take, and I just seized the initiative. And my bishops are really, really super active. My rook's active. And I was seeing all sorts of forks with the bishops. Like, well, like this one, for example, but also this one, if I could ever get that in. So just intuitively, I also thought this knight, if he ever takes the rook, would be far away from home. And this isn't one of those positions where you have like 4 tempi to get your piece back in the game. So that was my reasoning. And yeah, and I think this was the game winner right here. There's really no way out of this. It's just a fork, plain and simple. And this is probably a horrible move. Then again, what does he really do? At least I don't have my 2 bishops anymore, right? But I took his rook, and it was kind of yeah. And this, I hardly blame my opponent for playing this. I think I would as well, because he probably knew that he was losing here, and he's like, hey, I'll fork and see what happens. You know, maybe my opponent will blunder. Sometimes I will blunder. But in this case, I did have these checks. Well, 1 check. And that was enough to secure the win. So I was happy to take a victory against a 1600 player. My blitz has been very sketchy in the past, so that was a really good win for me. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. Thanks a lot. Bye.